everything to us. He explained it to what? People who follow him. Now this is how it works. The priesthood was for the whole of Israel. Whoever will obey his voice and keep his commandment. It is not for some specific people. Now he going ahead to choose the first male born of every woman simply means that priesthood is representative priesthood, a ceremonial priesthood, whichever way you want to choose it, because these are words that I am using myself. So that priesthood is not functional priesthood. That priesthood is supposed to represent what priesthood looks like. That priesthood is supposed to be what? Ceremonial priesthood and not functional priesthood. Beloved, listen carefully. It is this model of priesthood which was handed over to us throughout all generations that we have inherited today. That is why people go to church on Saturdays and some goes to church on Sundays. So what it simply means is that Sunday church services or Saturday church services are ceremonial in nature. And this is a key that you should know before you can understand scriptures. The fourth key for you to know is that when Israel was divided along spiritual lines, the laws that the Lord gave them also changed. The laws that he gave to the Levites and the laws that he gave to the 11 tribes of Israel who said they are not on his side also changed. So based on the laws, you can know who is on God's side and who is what? On the side of idols. Based on the laws, you know who is spiritual and who is not spiritual. Based on the laws, everything that the law regard or classify the Levites to be, that the 11 tribes are not, should be studied from the law that is given to them. So what was the structure of the law? From the bottom, all the 11 tribes that said they are not on the law side have the same moral laws as the Levites. So all the 12 tribes of Israel have the same moral laws. On the second phase or the second layer of that moral law are ceremonial laws. Now, ceremonial laws are laws that are given to Israel to observe as a sign. The intention is to remember something, to communicate a certain message, to relay a certain message to the next generation or the surviving generation. These are the what? This is the relevance of what? The ceremonial laws. So they are signs, they are not substances in nature. Now, all the ceremonial laws are the same for both the 11 tribes of Israel who said they are not on God's side and the Levites. So listen carefully. They have the same moral laws. They have the same ceremonial laws. When we come to the third layer, that is where the difference is. The third layer, God gave the Levites priestly laws. But when it comes to the 11 tribes who say they are not on his side, they are on the side of idols, God did not give them any law to compare to priestly laws. Now, if I say it's priestly laws, you will not understand it well. So let me put it this way. God gave the Levites vocational laws, what they should do as a profession, what they should do for a living. Listen carefully. God gave them vocational laws, what they should do as a profession, what they should do for a living. But when it comes to what? The 11 tribes who said they are not on God's side, God did not give them any vocation. He did not give them anything to do for a living. He just left them to do whatever they would do on their own. That means the decider here is about what we do as vocation, what we do for livelihood, what we do as profession. If the moral laws are the same, ceremonial laws are the same, and the only thing that distinguish the Levites from the other tribes are their vocation, what they do for a living, that means it is these vocational laws that are the deciding factor. So to know those who are on God's side depends on the job that you practice. To know those who are spiritual depends on the job that you practice. To know those who are on the side of idols depend on the job that you practice. All the 11 tribes are supposed to do work for a living, what we call today secular work. And God did not choose any secular work for anybody. They all chose their own vocation based on what probably they learned from Egypt. Now, the Bible calls the Levite as holy, not because the Bible inspects every individual Levite and found them to be holy, but before you even be born, the law has already classified you as a holy person, which means the laws that were given to the Levites to obey are the laws that determine what makes a person holy. So clearly, your vocation, what you do as a profession, what you do for a living, determines your spirituality, determines on whose side you are, also determines whether you are holy or not. Beloved, you need to know this thing. Otherwise, you'll be on the other side and you would like to be spiritual. I have heard a lot of people on the other side who will always ask, how do I become spiritual? How do I grow spiritually? You cannot be on the idol side and still grow spiritually on God's side. It does not work that way. You cannot be on the side of idols and still want to be holy. It does not work that way. Moral laws do not make people holy. Ceremonial laws do not make people holy. It is vocational laws that make people holy. And the most important one, which you must know here, is that your vocation determines your worship. When Israel said they are not on God's side, the 11 tribes said they are not on God's side, and the Levites said they are on God's side, the only thing that changed was what? Their vocation. The Levites were given priestly laws to obey as a vocation, as a full-time job. Which means if you want to worship God, worshiping of God is a vocation. It is what you do for a living, what you do for livelihood. Beloved, if you know these keys, you do well in understanding the gospel. Thank you.